Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Hello, Glastonbury! Sorry, wrong gig. Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Yes, I'm back in my podcasting chair after my digital detox, after spending 5 days at the Glastonbury Festival in a tent. You know, you can't beat the feeling of unzipping a tent in the morning and feel the grass between your toes before having the realisation that the toilet is a brisk 5-minute walk away. But having watched an Elvis impersonator sing Nirvana in a band called Elvana, Idris Elba, of all people, spinning decks, Jeff Goldblum asking if there are any Scousers in the audience, watching the Wu-Tang Clan and standing next to Phil Jupitus watching Baby Metal, it's fair to say that Glastonbury was gloriously bonkers and random as always this year. But enough of my mini adventures. I'm back in the real world now and I've got a full inbox and a long line of guests coming on here to prove it. Speaking of which, next week, can you believe it? It's 4 years since I first launched this podcast. And I want to throw this out to each and every one of you listening today. When did you first start listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast? And if you have been listening since episode 1, that's 20,000 minutes, 333 hours, or 14 solid days of content that you've been listening to. But along the way, who have been your favourite guests? Your feedback will help me get the right guests back onto this tech podcast. So whether today is your first episode, whether you've been listening for a year, 2 years, or 3 years, or even if we've got somebody left from episode 1, I want you to give me a quick show of hands, and I'm going to make it nice and easy for you, because you can contact me directly on email, techblogwriter@outlook.com. I know that overwhelming majority of you have never emailed this podcast or any podcast at all. I want you to break that habit just this once and email your friendly podcast host. I guarantee I will reply back to you. And remember, you can also direct message me on Instagram, Twitter and LinkedIn. And I'm easy to find. I'm just at Neil C. Hughes. And I'm incredibly curious what you're all going to come back with. But as long as it's not tumbleweed, please don't do that to me. I speak to you in the microphone every single day to get nothing back. Well, you don't want to break a tech podcaster's heart, do you? Because it's kind of weird talking into a microphone every day for 4 years and not actually knowing who you all are. Here's my voice being beamed into your ears, but I know nothing about you. So I will keep on trucking. But please, I'd love to hear how long you've been listening on that run-up to 4 years. And another great idea I thought of is if you use our WhatsApp or any kind of recording app on your phone, feel free to leave a virtual voice message and we'll play a few of those on the 4th anniversary next week. Well, so whether you do follow me on my website, you're a podcast subscriber or any social channels, please let me know, as I'd love to know more about you and where you listen. Wow, you can tell I've been sat in a tent for a week. I'm rambling, aren't I? We got a show to do. And today I want to talk to the guys at Fractal Analytics because they're an AI leader that has secured $200 million in funding and is supporting the world's biggest consumer packaged goods companies such as P&G and Unilever. So I invited the CPG division lead, Ambo onto the podcast to share how legacy brands are using artificial intelligence to win the war against Amazon for customer loyalty. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to New York, where we're going to speak with Ambo about Fractal Analytics. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for having me on the show. My full name is Amitabh Bose. I go by Ambo. I'm the Chief Practice Officer for Consumer Goods and the Retail Industry with Fractal Analytics. We work in driving business transformation with AI, engineering, and human-centric design for our clients. Our aspiration is to power every human decision in the enterprise and create $1 billion business impact for our clients.
Now, I'm quite excited to get you on the show today, Ambo, because I've recently learned that Fractal Analytics is an AI leader that has secured $200 million in funding, but is also supporting the world's biggest CPGs, such as P&G and Unilever, just to name a couple there. But can you tell me more about how legacy brands are now using artificial intelligence to win that war against Amazon for customer loyalty?
Yeah, thank you for that. We are indeed fortunate to be working with big legacy brands as we are looking to this change in the marketplace. And indeed, Amazon is one name, and it's a big name out there. But essentially, the new age competition is not just Amazon, but all other retailers, as also new age brands they're competing with, who all have their own direct-to-consumer models. That's how those brands have been built. What our clients are looking to do is they are looking to use AI across their data sets, across their functions, to understand key purchase and consumption moments for consumers, both offline and online. These would get down to basics of what would a consumer pick on her way home that saves her a weekend trip to the grocery store, and thereby saves her time to do something else or pursue some other interest. Or what categories would she rather buy online that so far she was going to the grocery store for her monthly or her weekly trips. We know diapers came first. As we talk, pet foods is the other category which is massively going online. And what's coming next? That's the kind of questions that our clients are looking to address and get savvy with their online and their e-commerce channels. Essentially, the question that's coming up is, can we build billion-dollar brands online?
And it almost feels like we've come full circle now, where a lot of these big legacy brands are relearning to be consumer-centric. I'm curious, is that something that you're seeing as well?
Yes, indeed. It's almost like putting the consumer back into consumer goods. Legacy brands developed over the past 200 years into big brands, big organizations, big functions set up like sales, like supply chain, like marketing to kind of understand and then deliver to consumers. They are facing a significant amount of disruption. The consumers today, the digital native, who spends a significant part of her day online, to her ingredients matter more than brand names. The digital media is hyper-personalized to a much higher level than imaginable, and targeting individuals with specific needs. Consumers are seeking that unique experience in their interaction with brands. The marketplace is digitized, and the new age competitor is, in fact, coming in with a direct-to-consumer model. So this is something that consumer goods companies know nothing about, and they're relearning the space. We've been working with CPG over the past decade or more. We haven't seen such disruption as in the past 2 years. And all our clients are now adopting to change and transform the way they run their businesses. So indeed, brands that once defined marketing, owned the consumer mind space, and category shelves are facing this new challenge. And yes, it's coming around a full circle.
So we're going to have people listening all over the world and from various businesses and industries, as well as retailers. But I'm curious, where do you begin to understand the purchase and consumption moments, especially when they're scattered across both offline and online?
Oh yeah, that's a very good question, and that's actually very core to our to everything we are doing with regards to marketing analytics, or indeed the consumerization of CPG, as some of our clients tend to call it. The way we see it, the consumers today are increasingly experimental, trying out new things. They are experiential. They're looking for new, experiences, and they want certain degree of efficiency in things that they do, so they can prioritize their time on things that gives them the experience or catches their learning and their attention, and actually get super efficient with things that they just need to get done. Almost, a lot of people talk about consumer experiences. I would call it more hedonistic. It's a complete sensorial experience they're seeking. Imagine providing that online, where consumers are in the digital world, which is where consumers are a third of their day part or even half of their day, depending on the age cohort. And what are her moments of consumption and decision moments and purchase moments that come up. And then as we start to think about ourselves and when I say ourselves, talking about our clients, having our brands and our big brands and our categories, where do they fall in her hierarchy of needs and how much of time is she willing to give it? If she could do a refill shopping on her way home from work, maybe it's a vending machine at the subway station. If she's on a certain grocery shopping list that she could get done online and it could get delivered to her home, then she'd rather have that and save that time for pursuing another interest. So it's kind of fortunate for brands to actually have that consumer moment and the customer moment with her online or even in the marketplace. How do we deliver efficiently and how do we deliver the experience becomes very core.
And anybody listening that follows this space, and in particular the trends online and the numerous articles about this, everyone is seeing so much information now about digital journeys and the importance of them. Is it relevant to all product categories, do you think?
That's interesting again. And yeah, you're talking about, folks listening in to the conversation from different industries.
Yeah.
Let's take a wider span outside consumer products and, indeed any kind of products that consumer purchase, be it banking products or cars or telephones or indeed fashion apparel or accessories and indeed consumer goods. Consumers have a certain moment of experience and interaction, need to know with certain categories and a need for efficiency in certain others. Essentially, when we talk about digital journeys, and that kind of came out from the online world, that if you have a banking product, the consumer is really more interested in researching the product, or if you have an insurance product, the consumer spends more time in researching that product. But what we discovered for our client, for example, is in certain categories, let's say chocolates, there is no journey involved. The consumer is online, and it could be at a certain part of her day where she has a pick-me-up moment or a need for a sugar rush, and it could be the moment to actually reward herself with a chocolate. Or it could be at the in a group meeting where somebody wants to reward someone else for something that came up, and it could be actually a collective moment where you're looking to reward not yourself but somebody in the team. These are instant gratification categories and instantaneous moments. The interesting thing we found was at times some of these are planned, and then the product category starts to shift. So for the same reward me moment, which could be a instant gratification with a chocolate or indeed a soda, if it is a planned moment, it could be a granola bar. So that's how the customer is experimenting or exploring her world and prioritizing. And to be able to provide that the product at that moment of need is becoming super critical for our clients, and everybody recognizes that.
And at Fractal Analytics, you are working with a lot of big brands, but I'm curious, how are you seeing organizations learning from big companies such as Amazon and actually learning lessons from that and disrupting their operations in their own businesses? Are you seeing anything around that?
Oh, yes, indeed. In fact, Amazon is a big disruptor, especially in the industries that I work with. And I see our clients focused on learning from Amazon as also getting parity as with Amazon, as also their e-tail channels with regards to how they bring that into their revenue growth management strategies. With Amazon in particular, I think behaviorally what they're learning is Amazon builds its business through data first and through experimentation. That is something that our clients are keen to learn and reapply. Prototyping, machine learning based experiments, looking at changing the way they functionally approach or even cross-functionally approach their business. So they're looking to change those processes, learning through machine learning and through data first, and learning through rapid experimentation.
And everybody listening is going to be hearing more and more about the rise of artificial intelligence and machine learning. But equally, a lot of people are going to be a little bit confused on how it's going to actually work or impact their space and their work. So can you tell me more about how at Fractal Analytics, you're prototyping machine learning-based experiments to actually change functional and cross-functional business processes, such as customer development, sales operations, planning and revenue growth management, because that's the language that they all know and love, isn't it?
Oh, yes, indeed. And the way we are doing it is where we kind of put our clients or the human at the center of that transformation. That's what I meant by human-centric design. So even as we enable our clients to create billion-dollar business impact in their businesses, the whole user experience over the efficiency or the economics of AI needs to be stronger. The whole end user or functional user experience of applying AI to their businesses, knowing which are the parts which can be automated versus which are the parts which need to surface up as informed for them to make that decision is important. And therefore, we are bringing in a big dose of design thinking and indeed behavioral sciences in how we are working together with our clients in driving that transformation.
And I think it's also worth pointing out that 2019 is proving to be a great year for you guys. I recently read that Forrester Research recognised Fractal Analytics as a leader in its recent Forrester Wave Custom Analytics Service Providers report, which is fantastic. Can you tell me more about that? And did it take you by surprise?
Well, thank you for that. Indeed, it's a great joy. We're not surprised, but grateful for the recognition. We have been leaders with Forrester Customer Analytics Services in 2019, and that's second time in a row. The last time was in 2017, where we featured as leaders. We've also scored the highest in all three categories of the Forrester evaluation: current offering, strategy, and market presence. In fact, they recognized us for the fact that customer analytics, which is what they scored us on. We recognize that as only half the battle won, because that's the science part of it. To implement it in a meaningful way, we need to understand how we can understand and influence consumer behavior and social behavior towards categories. We acquired a company called Final Mile recently, who are into behavioral economics, and we are bringing that together with our AI to actually affect that change and enable our clients.
And that's not all, is it? Because I think over the years I've read Great Place to Work, Cool Vendor by Gartner. I mean, you've got quite a list of achievements, haven't you?
Thank you. Yes, we strive to make it high impact for our clients and for our people, and it's been well appreciated and recognized. So we are grateful towards it. In fact, I think Gartner rated us as well on our mission statement. I think our mission statement is to create that $1 billion impact for our clients' businesses. And Gartner recently mentioned that on the surface, to add $1 billion value to each client seems bold yet implausible. However, they recognize that at least one client has given us that roster, one of our top clients, and actually that's in CPG. And they believe we are well positioned to repeat that feat. So yeah, it's exciting, and that support and recognition fuels us to continue on that path.
So looking towards the future, what's next for Fractal Analytics? Is there anything else that you can share with us today?
Yeah, I think it's creating that $1 billion value for our clients, even more so that we can, as they're going through that transformation and seeking growth in their businesses. The other area we are very excited about is, Gartner recently acknowledged one of our products that it's a Fractal funded company that we've incubated called Cure.ai. It's transforming the way radiology works using machine learning. And it's kind of been recognized alongside Zebra Medical and GE Healthcare. Very proud of that. That's actually a proud feather in our cap on our journey. So yeah, that's where we are.
And for anyone listening that wants to find out more information, dig a little bit deeper about how you're helping so many businesses all over the world, what's the best way of finding you online, and equally reaching out and contacting a member of your team if they are left with any additional questions after listening to our conversation today?
For sure. I'm available on Amitabh, that's AMITABH.BOSE at fractal.ai. And of course, our website is www.fractal.ai. And you can find all the stuff that we are doing there. And we'd love to interact with anybody who would have any questions or thoughts for us.
Well, I always say at the end of every episode that technology works best when it brings people together. But what I love about what you're doing here at Fractal Analytics is, yes, you're leveraging complex technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, But ultimately, when you strip that back, you're helping Fortune 500 companies globally, but powering every human decision in the enterprise. And I think that's so important in delivering real value. So a big thank you for coming on and sharing that story with me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
One of the most fascinating things I found about the interview with Ambo today is legacy brands that developed over the past 200 years are facing all-round disruption. The consumer is now a digital native who spends a significant part of their day online. All aspects of our media is now hyper-personalised, the marketplace is digitised, and their new age competitor has a direct-to-consumer model that they know nothing about. And brands that once defined marketing, owned consumer mind space and category shelves are now facing a relevance challenge. For example, breakfast cereals and their loss of relevance for millennials as they all turn to things like avocados is just one great example. Not at least the market general managers are spending more than 2/3 of their time on operations when some of those functions are themselves getting disrupted. So my personal takeaway from today's chat is that Fractal have had the privilege of working with top CPG brands for the last 2 decades. But these brands haven't experienced such a disruption in the marketplace as they have done in the last 2 years. That's the speed of which this is moving. But the good news, of course, is all these clients are now adapting to the change in several areas. But how is this affecting you and your business? That's the question I want you to answer and share with me on this podcast. So maybe we can then all share our collective experiences and find a few answers together in our podcast community. And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. My email is techblogwriter@outlook.com. So please, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And of course, before I go, it's time for me to be the stereotypical podcast host and say, please remember to rate and review this podcast on whatever platform you listen to this show, as it really does help bring more people to our little community and most importantly of all, achieve a small victory against those pesky algorithms that rule who gets to discover this podcast. But after sitting in a field for 5 days, I'm probably guilty of rambling a little now. So a big thank you for listening and making it to the end of this podcast. You guys and dolls are the reason I do this every day. It really does mean the world to me that you sacrifice a little of your time and allow me to be the soundtrack to your commute or wherever it is that you listen. So a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.